Hey, I'm James from Smoking Dad Barbecue, and welcome to a video that has been months in the making. Myself, like many of you, have been waiting what feels like an eternity for your Kamado Joe order to arrive, and today is my lucky day. I think it was about late May or the first week of June that I put in my order for a replacement Kamado Joe Classic III, and it has finally arrived. And so today I'm going to do a video for all my peeps who have been waiting patiently and their grills are starting to arrive, maybe have arrived or about to arrive in the next few weeks. And we're gonna cover unboxing, setup for the Kamado Joe, and what I still feel is really important, that break-in burn, to make sure that we're off to the races and in good running order for hassle-free months and years to come. Plus, we're also going to cover in this video, since I don't see it too often, what are these mystery parts for? I know you guys ask about this all the time. If you've got an idea, go ahead, let me know in the comments right now what you think these are for, and I'll give you at the end when we are done and I get the new set, because this is from another Kamado Joe, the official Kamado Joe response in terms of how to use these parts. So to get started, you're going to want a pair of snips, and we will get into everything from here on out. So to help not make this a really long video, I'm going to go fast forward and then zoom in and zoom out of fast forward when it's time to point out something really relevant or important. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so first out of the box is the top of our SloRoller. We're not going to need this for a while, so just go ahead and set this in a safe spot and we'll keep on unpacking. Okay, next up are the base and the extension for our SloRoller. So that completes the SloRoller setup. I'll show you how to use this once we have our Kamado Joe Classic III all set up, but for the time being, we're just gonna put this in a safe spot where it won't fall over, get scratched, or I'll trip on it or something like that for the setup. So let me put this with the top of the SloRoller. Okay, so in real time, we're maybe 60 seconds of work just to go ahead and remove those straps and our outer casing. And so now there's a couple things that we want to do. First, you want to give your Joe just a look over and make sure that there's nothing that was damaged during shipping. I've done about 7 or 8 of these in the last year. I've never had an issue, but I've also never had a box that was really damaged. And so if your carrier was maybe too aggressive with a forklift and put it right through the box, just go ahead and make sure that your shipping logistics provider hasn't done any damage to the box. This one, at quick glance, looks really good. And so the next thing that we're going to do is start setting our parts aside. And so accessible to us right away is the ash tool, which we have over here. So let's go ahead and set that aside. Looks just like this one. Then we have our shelves, which are for the new table. So these are cast aluminum, so we can put hot stuff on it, like our deflector plates. One of the reasons I love the Series 3 is you're not going to melt anything. You do need space for hot stuff mid-cook, so these are handy, but I don't need them right now. We'll get this once the Joe is in the cart. We've got our vent cap, which is just like this one, not the daisy wheel. And so again, you put this on last. And then everything else that we need is going to be inside the Joe. So we have a sticker on top to remove. And I'll mention this again later on in the video, but since it's easy to see right now, this is where if you were to lift the Kamado Joe, it's okay to put some force on the back of the airlift hinge assembly, as well as underneath here in the vent opening. So I'll bring you the camera a little bit closer so you can see that. But for now, this is going to be a bit like a Russian doll, where we open it up and we find layers upon layers of all our accessories. So our cooking grid is in here, our deflector plates, the charcoal basket, and the divide and conquer system. So to help make this easier to assemble, let's go ahead and get our firebox out, fire ring, and all those other accessories. So to make this a lot lighter and easier to get into the cart, which we have to assemble next, and then we'll reinstall those back in their proper manner in a few minutes. So I'll rejoin you after fast forward. All right, so now it's time to take our cart out of the box, assemble that. So we're gonna have 4 wheels in total. 2 of them will have locking mechanisms. So I'm gonna go ahead and install them on the front, which is, I don't know if you can see it behind me on the Big Joe. The front and the back both have a Kamado Joe logo. Doesn't matter which one you use, with wire leads that you can put any probes you might be using. So I'll put the locking wheels on the front, the roller wheels on the back, and we'll tighten everything up and we'll be ready to lift our Classic into place. Now's a good time to go ahead and phone a friend if you have one nearby that can just help you with lifting it in to its cart, because we're only about 5 minutes or so away from needing a helping hand. I'll take you back to fast forward while we get the cart together. Okay, so instead of an unlucky neighbor, it was an unlucky spouse. So as you saw, not too heavy for 2 people to go ahead and lift that into position. So what we're checking for is that we line the draft door up so that it can open freely without interfering with the arm, and is centered sort of left to right, so I can go ahead and make those adjustments, as well as making sure that our Joe is sitting flush in our stand. Now, I didn't mention this earlier, but you want to go ahead and have your wheels locked so the stand doesn't move around. First time we did this, you know, we tried to put it in position and the stand was moving. It made it much, much more difficult. So I know it's obvious, but it's the little things. Go ahead and lock these wheels so it stays nice and steady when you're lowering your Joe down into position. So I'm just gonna go ahead and make sure this is centered, and then we'll get ready to start putting the arms in place, as well as installing all of our components. Okay, so if you're installing everything per the Kamado Joe instructions, you will install this piece first. So you'll see it sits there and lines right up with the front of the bottom vent. And then we install this piece again with the air opening lining up with the air vent. So you just drop this down. And I'll take a look here at the camera if you can see, not quite, but you can see how this ring sort of sits on the lip, which makes it so that you can't remove that without taking everything else out. And while it covers most of the surface area, there's a small amount of space that Ash can get behind. And so again, my personal preference for all of my Joes is, oh, sorry, just reposition the camera on me so you can see, is to not install that piece. So I'm just gonna go ahead and take this out and put it in the garage with all the other shiny ones. Okay, so for my approach, again, we'll put this ring in as the same. Just try and line that up so it's in the middle of the Joe, and again, that our air vent is lining up. You know what, that looks pretty good to me. I'm just gonna go ahead and grab the Ash tool and slide that in just to make sure that it goes in freely and unobstructed. That looks good. Just rotate it about a degree or 2 and we are set. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start installing the Firebox pedestals. For the first one, I like to place it right around, right in front of the draft door, just because I don't want any extra air leaks. If there was a seam right there, it potentially gives you, you know, some irregular airflow. So just to help seal off the front and make sure I'm controlling temperatures just with the bottom vent and the top vent, I'm gonna go ahead and orient the first one in the very front position, and then build the rest of the circle following that. Okay, so now I'm getting ready to get my paper towel or toilet paper for the trick of bringing everything out. And so you'll notice there's some space for some air gaps. So right here I'm really tight, and over here I have too much space. So these will come closer once we pull them out from the wall. But what I want to do is not have a large space followed by no space. So I'm just going to go ahead and reorient them the best that I can so there's pretty equal space on the bottom. I'm not too worried about the top, because again, the top will close together once we pull them out from the wall and we install the ring on the top. So I'm gonna just shimmy these around so that the bottom has equal distance, and then go get some paper towel or some toilet paper. I recommend toilet paper over paper towel just because it burns even quicker and easier and won't be something that stays on the outside between your outer ceramics and your firebox for a long time. It'll disappear pretty much after our break-in burn. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so if you had more than just two hands, this would be something that you could sort of shimmy into place. But even if you do have two hands, it's really important that you get the ring to sit completely flush. If you don't do that, it can cause or put some extra stress on that ring to warp. I've never had one of my rings warp, or any of the friends that I've helped assemble there, so I'm not 100% sure that this is the reason for that. But I have seen some people not do this and potentially get some warping in the ring. And that comes from it not actually being seated properly. And then you've got the high temperature heat and the different weight actually pushing on that and causing maybe some of that potential for the ring to become misshapen. So to prevent that, or to help make this easier, I like to just grab a little bit of toilet paper, make a little ball, just like this, something that'll burn up. We'll pull this out from the wall and you stuff it down just like that. And now that pedestal is suspending itself away from the wall. So we'll go ahead and complete our circle, and that will make it really easy to make sure when it's time to install our ring, which is our next step, that it slides right down. Okay, so let's go ahead and install our ring. And so the way that we want to do this is just like a compass, with north and south, orient that front to back. And it should be pretty easy to slide on. There we go. So you can see it's on, and I'm able to slide it freely because it's not hitting any spots. So I'll just go ahead and orient that so it looks straight to me. Looks good. Let's get our charcoal basket next. All right, we've got our charcoal basket. Just go ahead and drop that in. Our charcoal basket divider. Oh, I got a piece of plastic there. Remove that. So we can install this north-south or east-west. Let's just go ahead and we'll add some charcoal for our break-in burn at the maybe the back of the grill today. Doesn't really matter which way you do it, but if I have a preference, it's usually for the back, because I just love getting a great airflow entry into the grill. And I've also found just naturally the fire likes to go to the back of a ceramic Kamado shaped grill. And so by doing this setup, you're just helping it do what it's naturally going to want to do, giving it great airflow, and we could build a little bit of a charcoal base back here. Speaking of charcoal, I'm gonna go ahead and grab some out of the garage, and we'll add that in and we'll continue assembling. Just a second. So we've got a nice little base of charcoal. Just go ahead and throw in a Kamado Joe fire starter cube. If you're not really into the, the torches, I'm gonna do a video soon. You guys have been asking, comparing all the different lighting methods. And I do like mixing it up, but I really love starting the fire this way if I have the time. It just feels really authentic campfire, cooking over a natural lump charcoal. So I'm just gonna go ahead and add the starter cube. We'll light it up either with a lighter, you have a match you can do, or a map torch. I have a map torch. And then we'll just continue our assembly process while this is coming up to temperature. All right, next I'm gonna go ahead and install our divide and conquer rack, which slides in just like that. So now we can lift this as one complete unit. and it sits down in the little notches on your ring on top of your Firebox. So it just provides a little bit of lateral stability. Next, I'm going to install the X-ring accessory and the cooking grids. So the X-ring accessory is this piece here, and what you want to do is just install it where it's sitting on the notches. So I'll just go ahead one-handed here and slide that in. And I'll find where I left our deflector plates, go grab those. Here they are. So just go ahead and remove them from the plastic. And slide one in like so. I'm gonna leave these open today in a pizza pie type configuration, which is my normal setup. If you haven't seen that, I have a video called Foolproof Tips for Low and Slow. If you're new to a Kamado style grill, definitely recommend checking that video out, as this has been something I've learned the hard way over 10 years of cooking on a ceramic cooker, is just how to get those foolproof temperatures for nice low and slow operation. And so it starts with getting heat in our dome and then closing these plates. Today, since we're just doing a break-in burn, I'm gonna let it go for a little while at 350 to 400 degrees, and then we're gonna turn it off and seal it and leave it shut. And won't open this latch for 24 hours. This will be just fine. So let me get the grids. And so there is a right way and a wrong way for these grids. The way to do that is to install the grid against the notches like so, since it won't move. If you're cleaning your grate or getting food, if you do it the other way, it can slide off. They both work, and I've never had any problems, but I've read some of you guys have had some trouble. So I do want to just point that out, just to prevent you from having any unpleasant surprises. So let's drop that in. And now we need to remove our sticker up top before we get too much heat. So I'll just bring that down. You can see. I'll just go ahead and pop that right off. All right, let's get our Kontrol Tower top ready to go. While our fire starter's doing its work. We'll go ahead and remove the outer plastic, lift this off and remove the protective paper. And so this is our Kontrol Tower top, so we have the ability to open, close that completely, as well as remove this top and slide that in position so we can open and control it. So for 350, 400 degrees, I'm actually going to start with it all the way open, slide it on so that it looks about center, push down so it's all the way on the base, and I think we're set. We're ready to move on to our side shelf. All right, you guys are doing great. We're nearly there. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna get our side shelves out of the box. There's a left one and a right one, and they'll just hang on to our side hangers here and put them in position. Plus, something that you should always do when opening up a new grill is just go ahead and confirm the bands are tight. And so I'll bring the camera a little bit closer and do that before we get any real heat in our Kamado Joe, just to make sure we're really ready to get going and have hassle-free enjoyment. That is something, as you get used to your new grill, you should make a habit of. Just like you change your furnace filters, maybe spring and fall, go ahead and check your bands at the exact same intervals. Let's get these out of the box and into the side shelf position. The easiest way to tell the left from the right is there's a little Kamado Joe logo right there. I don't know if you can see coming through on the camera. That'll be facing you. So for me, that's going to be on the left side. Pop it in like that, lift up, slide under the two notches. Maybe I'll bring the camera a little closer for the next one. All right, here we are once again. So line it up, drop down, lift, push towards, and now it's locked into position. All right, we've only got a few more things to do and we are completely done. And so now our last two questions to answer are some of the most popular ones that I get, which is what we started the video with, which is what's this for? And the second most popular one is actually, how do I get the SloRoller to slide under the cart? And guilty as charged, this one actually got me the first time too. Turns out there is a front and a back and a left and a right, and it's not exactly equal. So I'll bring the camera closer and show you exactly how to slide the SloRoller into position. And then we'll zoom back out here and answer our last question in terms of what these parts are for. Okay, so the first thing I like to do is put the top of the SloRoller in on the bottom, as well as our extension, and just go on top. And this is the part that normally gets people, is the SloRoller. If you approach, you know, straight on like this, you'll see that it hits. And if you're going from the side, it's even slightly tighter. And so the way to do that is just to approach from the bottom up and lift straight into place. And that just sort of upward sliding in has it sit as it's supposed to underneath your cart, no problem at all. Okay, we're at the end of the road here on our Kamado Joe video, and I know many of you again are wondering what these parts are. And so the official answer from Kamado Joe, didn't know myself the first time I saw it. I thought it might have been for actually tightening the band or the hinge. Close, but that's not what it's for. So what it's actually for is for locking in your dome. And since the airlift hinge works just like magic by holding our hinge where we want it and not letting that go, this dome is, I don't know, 80 pounds, maybe 100 pounds. And so that spring-loaded action, if we were to go and disassemble our bands, would potentially have, you know, the hinge spring open because it's not supporting the dome weight itself. And so to prevent that from happening, what we do is we would loosen the tension on the spring itself. We would go ahead and install this on the sort of on the shaft of the airlift hinge, and then there's a nut and a bolt to tighten that. And that is something that we would do if we were removing the hinge itself and had to replace it, or had to remove the dome itself and had to replace it. Not that I've ever had a dome needing to be replaced, but let's say you wanted to take the dome off and install a new gasket when it's eventually expired and you find it easier to work with it. That's exactly why you want to save these parts, is they'll help make sure that your hinge goes back together just as easily as it came apart. So that's it for today's video. Really enjoyed hanging out with you. And again, if you're watching this, I assume likely because it means you got a brand new Kamado Joe, and I just want to congratulate you on your new grill. I'm here weekly with new videos, cooking over fire. I just absolutely love it. You can tell I'm a huge fan of Kamado Joe. And if there's anything that's on your mind you want to see is not in any of my other videos, go ahead and let me know in the comments below. I try and read and respond to as many of them as I can. And as well, if it's a popular topic or enough people are interested in it, I try and make it into a video like this to help answer your questions and serve as a bit of a knowledge base so you can get out and enjoy cooking over your brand new Kamado Joe. Anyways, I'm James from Smoking Dad Barbecue signing off, and don't be afraid to fire it up.